Heartbroken call at 3 a.m. You won't believe the billionaire stranger who answered. The clock struck 3. A solitary tear rolled down Clara's cheek as she clutched her phone, embers of heartbreak swirling in her chest. It was in that deafening silence that she dialed the number, not knowing her life would spiral into a whirlwind of mystery. A ringing tone echoed like an ominous omen, each ring tightening the knot in her stomach. And then, on the third ring, the call connected. A man answered. It was deep, rich, and laced with unexpected authority. "Hello?" His voice sliced through the stillness, making her shiver. Who was this? Beyond the shadows whispered plots of his identity, conspiracy mingling with desperation. As she caught her breath, reality twisted. Was he really a billionaire stranger? What kind of man answers a random call in the middle of the night? Her mind raced. The small-town girl who left home for big dreams tried to piece everything together while struggling against her pounding heart. Each tick of the clock was a countdown to the unknown, and she felt like she was on a roller coaster she didn't sign up for. He must have felt it too, something charged in the air, an unspoken understanding flickering between them, as if fate had pulled the strings to bring them together. Goosebumps pricked her skin. "Who are you?" she stammered, her voice trembling. The room felt too small, shadows dancing at the corners, echoing her fears. And without warning, a crackle of static buzzed through the line, like a warning from another world. "Why are you calling me?" he replied, his tone shifting, revealing a hint of anxiety beneath the calm facade. With every passing second, her curiosity grew stronger, pulling her deeper into his enigmatic world. The heat surged again as she felt a pull toward this stranger, the billionaire's life glimmering like gold just out of reach, hiding secrets she longed to discover. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Listen, I need to know what's going on, she pressed, her voice breaking through the invisible walls between them. Why did you answer? There it was, the raw, burning question that hung like a sword overhead. Silence fell, thick and heavy. The tension was palpable, sweat trickled down her back as fear and excitement collided. What kind of answers was she about to uncover? What if he was part of the tragedy that had shattered her world, and just like that, the line went dead? She stared at the phone, breathless. This wasn't just a call, this was the beginning of something dark and thrilling. She needed to know what lay ahead. Who was this man, and what connection did he have to her broken heart? The mystery lingered, hanging in the air and begging to be unraveled. Would she dare to find out more? Clara's heart raced as she sat in the silence that followed the disconnection. The chill in the room felt alive, wrapping around her, squeezing her lungs until she could barely breathe. Why had she taken that leap? All she wanted were answers to questions she hadn't even fully formed. Her fingers trembled as she gripped her phone tightly, eyes darting between the dark corners of her familiar room and the glowing screen. Should she call again? This time, she'd ask more pointed questions. But the haunting echoes of his voice replayed in her mind, each word dripping with an unsettling urgency she couldn't shake. Minutes seemed like hours. Shadows flickered outside her window, and she caught a glimpse of her own reflection, a ghostly figure of a woman unmoored by pain. She set the phone down, willing it to buzz back to life. Finally, she couldn't contain it any longer. With a deep breath, she jumped up and opened her bedroom door, the air stale and heavy outside. She paced the small hallway, her heart sinking to a rhythmic thumping that felt like a drumbeat of destiny. What did he mean by "why are you calling me"? Did he think she was pranking him? Did he suspect something sinister? She needed to find him. She needed to discover who he was and what had compelled a billionaire to answer in the dead of night. Running a hand through her disheveled hair, an idea sparked in her mind like a match igniting fuel. Perhaps she could use social media to dig deeper. Clara rushed to her laptop, fingers taking flight across the keyboard. She was determined to find any trace of him. Even if it was a wild goose chase, it would give her something to do, some semblance of control in a spiraling situation. Billionaire, mysterious stranger, she murmured, her voice tinged with determination, as she typed into the search engine. The results were a spill of headlines, profiles, and company boards. Clara lost herself in the names, none of which matched the smooth melody of the man's voice she had just heard. After what felt like an eternity, she finally stumbled upon a name that rang familiar: Elias Hartman, a tech mogul in San Francisco, known for his reclusive nature and involvement in exclusive charity events. It didn't sit right with her. No wonder he had answered her call. Wasn't he supposed to be untouchable, locked away behind money and walls? Her heart raced as she clicked through articles, absorbing every morsel of information. Photographs of him flashed on the screen, sharp jaw and piercing blue eyes, holding gazes that seemed to dig right through to people's souls. That could be him, but was it? Suddenly, her screen flickered, a message request popping up on her social media. It was a profile she didn't recognize, but the message sent chills down her spine. I know what you're after, and what you seek isn't safe. Stay clear of Hartman. The room closed in around her as panic surged through her veins. Who was this stranger who claimed to know her intentions? And what did they mean by not safe? Every instinct screamed at her to back away, yet her desire for answers flared like an open wound. She glanced back at the phone as if the man on the other end was right there, waiting for her call. But now she wouldn't merely be seeking a connection, she was about to navigate a dangerous web spun with lies, power, and the unknown. Taking a deep breath, Clara steeled her nerves. What was coming next? And more importantly, how deep was she willing to go? The tension bubbled beneath the surface, igniting a yearning she didn't want to acknowledge. Little did she know, her heart had already signed up for the journey, one that would force her to confront the unspeakable risks at every turn. What lurked upon the path ahead? Would she find the answers she craved, or would she awaken something far darker? Clara's hands shook as she hovered over the keyboard, staring at that ominous message. Stay clear of Hartman. It was less a warning and more a command, a sharp jolt that sent her heart thrumming with terror. Who was behind the screen? What did they know? Her mind raced through scenarios, most of them chilling and all of them frightening. Swallowing hard, she touched the screen lightly, as if it might bite. Should she respond? Her instincts screamed to ignore it, to close that door before something worse found a way in. But the curiosity, no, the thirst for answers was overwhelming. She could feel it gnawing at her, dragging her deep into a rabbit hole she couldn't see. With a swift, decisive movement, her fingers danced over the keys, crafting a reply before fear could take hold. Who are you? What do you know about Hartman? She hit send, her pulse racing. Instantly, a wave of regret washed over her. What if this was the wrong move? What if the person was someone dangerous? A notification pinged. Clara's heart dropped to her stomach as she saw the read receipt glow dimly, betraying her. She held her breath, waiting for a response. Anxiety tangled in her chest like a fist, squeezing tighter with every passing second. Then, it came. I've seen what he does to people who pry. You're in over your head. This isn't a game. Ice coursed through her veins. His words dripped with urgency, yet beneath that was something else, something she couldn't quite pinpoint. Was it genuine concern, or was it a taunt, a lure into something more sinister? In that moment, the laptop screen felt like a portal to a world far removed from her own. Clara's focus shifted back to Hartman's smiling face on the screen, a freezing mask of success and wealth. She wanted the truth, but knowing it might lead her to darkness made her stomach churn. It almost felt impossible, but she knew the risk of staying in the dark was greater. If she walked away now, would she ever forgive herself? With trembling fingers, she typed again, "What are you talking about? What has Hartman done?" She was desperate now. Every second spent waiting felt like being pulled under water, fighting against the tide. The screen blinked, and she could see he was typing back. Each dot dancing on the message bar felt like a countdown to something imminent, something she could neither prepare for nor escape. "You don't know what you're asking for. Trust me, you'll wish you hadn't." This time, a knot of dread twisted in her chest. Who was this person? And why did it sound like they understood a truth she couldn't even grasp? Suddenly, her phone buzzed violently in her pocket, breaking through the tension that had enveloped her. Clara jolted but reached for it, her heart hammering. It was an unknown number. Was it him? Her breath caught in her throat, a strange mix of fear and anticipation pulsing through her. She hesitated, contemplating the call before she accepted. The voice that greeted her was smooth yet laced with an unsettling urgency. "Clara? You need to listen carefully." But before he could finish, a crash sounded from outside, shattering the eerie quiet of her home. Her heart stopped. Eyes wide, she moved toward the window, heart jolting in her throat. Outside, shadows skittered across the lawn. "Stay on the line," the voice urged, but all Clara could focus on was the fear flickering in her chest. What had she unlocked? "Who's out there?" she whispered, words tumbling from her lips. But the shadows were growing, shifting, and she felt an electric pulse of danger slither down her spine. The screams of her own heartbeat drowned out the voice on the other end as she pressed her face against the glass. What happened next would change everything. The shadows danced near the edge of the lawn, twisting and turning in a chaotic rhythm. Clara's breath hitched as she saw a figure dart behind a tree. Panic gripped her gut, and she pressed the phone closer to her ear, desperate to keep the voice on the line. "Clara, you need to hide," he said, urgency wrapping around each word. "They're close. You can't let them find you." "Who's close?" She barely managed to choke out, her voice trembling. Eyes glued to the window, her mind fractured, teetering on the edge of panic and confusion. Shadows? Intruders? Her heart slammed against her ribs as she grasped the reality unfurling outside. The voice cracked further, "You won't understand right now, but trust me. Get away from the windows. Find a safe place." In fierce instinct, she pivoted from the window. Moving toward the back of the house, she felt the weight of every heartbeat, each thump a reminder of how fragile her safety had become. Clutching the phone, she sprinted into her dimly lit kitchen, her eyes darting around for an escape route. "Is it Hartman?" she whispered, hiding behind the kitchen island, its cold surface a poor shield against the rising dread. "Is he sending someone?" "Clara, listen to me. It's not just him. You're tangled in something much bigger than you realize. Keep your phone on. I'll guide you." Another crash echoed outside, this one louder and more violent. Clara's heart dropped and she inhaled sharply, the reality of danger seeping into her core. "What do you mean? I don't understand." Her voice rose, pitched with fear. The shadows outside became demons in her mind, morphing from fleeting movement to grotesque figures clamoring for her attention. "Trust me," the voice insisted again, more a plea than a command. "Get to the basement. Now." Biting her lip against rising panic, she stole a glance out the back door. The ill-lit garden lay stretched in front of her, each shadow possibly hiding the threat she was now acutely aware of. She could feel the crushing weight of choices pressing on her. Fear held her back, but the uncertainty of the truth pushed her forward. Gathering every ounce of courage, Clara bolted for the basement door. She gripped the knob tightly, her lungs burning. The hinges creaked loudly as she rushed down the steps, heart thrumming like a war drum. The air was damp as she descended into darkness, but she felt a step closer to safety. She fumbled around for the light switch, and when it flickered on, the stark glow revealed shelves cluttered with boxes, old tools, and forgotten memories. Are you in the basement? The voice asked, cutting through the noise of her racing heart. I'm here. She murmured back, the sound of her own voice still echoing in the confined space, amplifying her isolation. Lock the door behind you. You need to stay quiet. I'm sending you something. Just hang tight. Her stomach twisted. What was he sending? And who was lurking above her, watching? Clara locked the door, the click resonating like a final attempt to secure her reality. She settled on the cold floor, drawing her knees to her chest, the weight of dread pressing down like a vice. A series of pings from her phone shattered the oppressive silence. They were messages, and each one felt like a countdown to whatever was about to be revealed. Open it, but be careful. With shaky fingers, she opened the first message. The screen illuminated her face as she read. Picture attached, it said. Identify. Remember, they're already in the house. Her heart dropped as she clicked open the attachment, the image loading with agonizing slowness. And then she saw it, a man, wearing a dark hoodie, lurking in the shadows of her living room, peering right at her front door. Clara's breath quickened, her eyes widening as the realization hit. They were here, and she was trapped, but the next ping caught her attention, the voice on the other end abruptly fading into the background of her mind as she stared at the photo, words deadened in her throat. Do you recognize him? But did she dare to find out? And just then, the basement door rattled. What would happen if they got in? The rattling grew more urgent, a frantic rhythm that mirrored Clara's own spiraling thoughts. She pressed herself against the wall, her breath coming in sharp, shallow gasps. The dark figure from the picture swam in her mind, the hoodie a shroud hiding whatever intentions lurked beneath. With each jostle of the door, the whimpers of her fear turned into a suppressed scream. Clara, are you still there? The voice broke through the static of her panic. She needed to stay calm, but her heart was a wild drumbeat, nearly drowned out by the rattling noise echoing above her. He's here, she whispered, her voice trembling. I can hear him. Stay quiet. He urged, his tone sharper now. Do not make a sound. If he's looking for you, a splintering crack silenced him, and Clara flinched at the sound of wood splintering as the basement door buckled under pressure. Clenching her phone tighter, she could feel her heartbeat throbbing not just in her chest but in her throat. Panic washed over her, she might not have much time left. What do I do? Find something to defend yourself. The urgency in his voice pierced through the chaos. If you can't escape, you might have to protect yourself. Clara's gaze darted around the dim basement. Old tools, a rusty shovel, a large, blunt hammer. It was grim weaponry, but it wouldn't matter if she didn't have the courage to use it. She crawled silently towards an old workbench, her heart racing at each creak of the floorboards beneath her. The rattling grew more aggressive, matching her mounting terror. She lifted the hammer, its cold weight a mere comfort against her trembling hands. Would this be enough to give her a fighting chance? As the door shuttered again, she pressed herself flat against the floor, breath catching in her throat. Clara? The voice broke into her spiraling thoughts. Are you still there? I don't know what to do. She hissed back, panic dancing in her eyes. A low, rough sound began to rise above the rattling of the door as it continued to splinter under pressure. Clara. I know you're in there. Open the door, and we can end this whole charade. The voice was deep, dark, crawling under her skin. Her throat tightened as she recognized it, a chilling familiarity making her stomach churn. Hartman. She had never met the man, but this voice had slipped beneath her door more than once in the darkness of night, delivering threats cloaked in honeyed tones. Clara, listen. The urgency in the voice on the phone ruptured her focus, snapping her back to the present. Whatever happens, do not let him in. This isn't just about you. You have to hold on. She clenched her teeth, uncertainty tightening like a noose around her heart. The door grew quiet, but the tension held strong, it felt like the calm before the storm. "Clara?" Hartman called again, his voice softer now, almost velvety. "This can all be over if you just come out. I promise I won't hurt you." "Don't listen to him," the man on the line shouted, a mix of panic and insistence escalating in his voice. The silence that followed Hartman's words tainted the air. Each second felt endless. Clara's instinct screamed at her to dart up the stairs, but her feet refused to budge. The weight of the hammer in her grip felt insignificant compared to the doors of her own mind, which had locked her inside a spiral of dread. Suddenly, her phone vibrated fiercely, broken text illuminating the screen. It read, "Trust no one at this moment. They're playing a game." If he's in the house. But before she could finish reading, a crash erupted, the door bursting open with such force it flew off its hinges. Shadows poured into the room. "Clara." The voice was deeper, more menacing. "Time to face the truth." And with that, the shadows closed in around her. What lay beyond the darkness? Would she choose to fight or flee? The shadows enveloped her, a dense blackness that felt like a living entity, suffocating and heavy. Clara clutched the hammer tightly, her knuckles whitening, heart thundering in her ears as she squinted into the darkness. "Clara?" Hartman's voice pierced the stillness, now closer, more sinister. "You can't hide forever." She stifled a gasp, every instinct screaming at her to bolt. But where? The basement was a labyrinth of fear and uncertainty. She could barely see, and the looming figure was now a monstrous silhouette shifting against the faint light spilling in from the broken doorframe. "Stay still." The voice on the phone hissed desperately. "You're stronger than you think." "You have to." A loud crash interrupted him. Something crashed onto the floor, shattering the fragile calm. Clara's breath hitched as she raised the hammer, her vision swimming. "Clara, talk to me," shouted the voice, panic lacing every syllable. "What is happening? Can you see him?" I can't." She choked out, adrenaline coursing through her. Voices in her head whispered fears louder than Hartman's taunts. "Where are you, Clara?" Hartman sneered, inching closer. "Why don't we make this fun? Just come out and play." She swallowed hard, her eyes darting between the shadows, searching for a way out. "Get away from me!" she shouted. The sound echoed, betraying her fright. "Why are you fighting?" He laughed. "It's just us now." He stepped into the light, and her stomach dropped. Hartman, or the shadowed figure so full of malice, had features she could never forget, a face twisted into a grin that sent chills spiraling down her spine. The haunting semblance of familiarity lingered in every angle of his darkened grin. "Why would you do this?" Clara croaked, her voice shaking, feeling so small against the overwhelming darkness. "I'm here to help," he said, tilting his head. "You've been lost for too long, Clara. This is liberation." "No!" she screamed, fire igniting her fear, making her legs tremble with resolve. She raised the hammer above her head, every muscle in her body quaking. "Get back!" For one fleeting moment, he blinked. An expression of mock bewilderment crossed his face. Then his laughter erupted, a low rumble. "You really think you can hurt me?" Without thinking, Clara charged, every ounce of terror giving her strength. The hammer swung down, and it connected with something solid, his arm. "Ah!" Hartman cursed, staggered but not broken. Clara didn't hesitate. She darted to the side, weaving through the shadows. Adrenaline pummeled through her veins, louder than the snapping of wood against the wall, her own call to action drowning out every whisper of doubt. "Clara, where are you?" The voice on the phone pressed again, urgency raw. "You need to get out of there." But the room was a disorienting maze now, the shadows undulating around her. She had backed herself into a corner, and there was no obvious way out. The laughter from Hartman rang in her ears, mingling with her frantic breaths. She could almost feel him move through the darkness. "Trying to escape?" He taunted, voice silky and predatory. You'll have to do better than that. Suddenly, a glimmer of hope sparked within the chaos. A small window. High, but just reachable. If she could just focus, Clara steadied her breath, glancing back at him. He wasn't close yet, but she could sense the hunger in his approach. I'm coming for you. He growled, the truth of his intention clear in each step. There was no time to waste. With determination sparking in her chest, she pushed off the ground and leapt towards the window, every ounce of fear fueling her surge. Clara! The voice on the phone screamed in alarm. The moment felt eternal, as if fate itself became suspended in time, but she could feel the darkness pressing in around her, could almost sense Hartman crashing into the space behind her. Would she make it? Would the light outside pull her to safety, or would it become an empty illusion? Everything hung in the balance, and uncertainty clawed at her as she reached for the ledge, her heart racing. What would happen if she failed? The question loomed like a shadow of its own, thick and foreboding, but then, a crack sounded, a heavy force crashing into the workbench. The sound shattered her focus, the echo reverberating in her mind. Clara's fingers brushed against the cold, rough surface of the window ledge just as a gust of air pushed through the basement, carrying a charge of dread that froze her in place. She hesitated, the thrill of potential freedom clashing with the chilling reality of Hartman's shadow closing in. Don't stop moving. The voice on the phone urged, a live wire of panic. You have to push through. But Clara's mind hazed with shadows. Memories flooded back what led her here, the moments leading to her nightmare. Now they pressed against her consciousness like the darkness around her. Just jump. She shouted back, suppressing a whimper. The words tasted bitter. What if she fell straight into the jaws of more danger? Hartman's laughter answered her, vibrato and sinister, slithering under her skin. Why not just surrender? You're only making this harder on yourself, he crooned, voice wrapping around her like a snake. You think this is about me? This is all about you, Clara. Embrace it. Unable to breathe, she smothered the burning uncertainty with fierce defiance. She wouldn't become his plaything. Clara gathered the last drops of resolve within her and leapt. The moment her feet left the ground, it felt like she was flying and falling all at once. Time slowed, each heartbeat a reminder of the risk she was taking. And then the air roared past her as gravity jerked her down hard. Her fingers grazed the ledge but couldn't grip it. Panic surged, and she let out a desperate scream, a sound that echoed across the suffocating black. Clara. The voice on the phone reached a crescendo, maybe a warning, maybe her only anchor in the storm. She felt herself fall, but instead of crashing, something caught her, something warm, solid. Heart racing, she found Hartman's arm wrapped around her waist, holding her close. He was grinning, his shadow grotesque in the dim light. Isn't this a cozy embrace? He sneered. Let me go. She gasped, thrashing against him. But he tightened his grip. It was nauseating, the power he wielded, cruel and intoxicating. Clara's heart tore in two as despair coiled around her. Why fight me? He whispered, hauntingly close. You know you can't run from who you truly are. The metal hammer slipped from her grasp, falling into the darkness below with a hollow thud, echoing her helplessness. For a fleeting moment, she felt a wave of vulnerability crash over her. Was this it? Had she really come to the end of the line? Here, he said, lowering her back down, but only to dangle precariously at the edge. Let us try again. Let us play a different game. She gritted her teeth, forcing her eyes to meet his. The amusement flickering in those dark depths sparked something in her, something powerful. If I'm going down, she snarled, you'd better be ready to come with me. With one last surge, she pushed off the window ledge with a vengeance, sending them both tumbling back into the shadows. The fall felt eternal, spiraling deeper into the dread, every beat of her heart a countdown filled with uncertainty. As the world faded into darkness around her, Clara could feel it, the screaming winds of fate whipping through the air, the haunting thought that perhaps the true darkness was still waiting for her, poised to swallow her whole. When they hit the ground, it wasn't the crash she expected. Instead, a flash of blinding light ruptured the shadows above, illuminating the entire basement like daylight. And then she heard it, a familiar voice, previously drowned out by chaos, echoing through the room, "Clara. No. I can't lose you." Was that her brother? Had he found her? But as she lay there, wrestling with dimness and confusion, another voice whispered beneath his. Hartman's smile twisted into something more menacing. "Welcome to your worst nightmare." The air froze, and her heart plummeted further than she thought possible. What more could he unleash? What darkness awaited her in this charnel house of torment? As Clara fought to regain her bearings, one thing burned in her mind: she was not done yet. But just as she found the strength to rise, something unseen wrapped tightly around her ankle. In that moment, she knew this game had only just begun. The grip around Clara's ankle tightened, cold and unyielding. A jolt of panic surged through her. She glanced down, heart pounding, to find dark tendrils of shadow curling around her like malicious serpents. "Release me!" she gasped, pulling and kicking but making no progress as dread slithered deeper into her mind. Hartman was still smiling, but now it morphed into an eerie fixation. "You shouldn't have jumped, Clara. We're tied together now. Forever." His words dripped with malicious intent. A mix of terror and fury lit her veins. Why did he keep doing this? Was her strength so intoxicating to him that he needed to crush it? She struggled harder, desperation lending her renewed energy. "Get away from me!" she shouted, forcing her voice through a throat constricted by fear. Such fire, he mused, lazily observing her fight. Though their surroundings pulsed with an otherworldly light, the shadows clung heavy to his figure, twisting around him like loyal ghosts. "It makes this all the more enjoyable. You think you can break free? You, Clara, are already broken." A tremor rippled through her at his words. They carried a weight, a silent truth she refused to acknowledge. She could feel the ground around her breathing, alive with unfathomable danger. The phone buzzed in her pocket, jolting her back to reality. "Clara. Focus. You need to find a way out." The voice was faint but urgent, tugging at her through the fog of fear. Yes. She could feel the connection. But the shadows weren't finished. They yanked at her, a mocking reminder of her fears. How had she even landed here, caught between light and dark, hope and despair? What was her brother doing, still calling? Is he worth all of this? Hartman's words wrapped around her like the shadows. "Save your energy. You can't hide in the light. The darkness knows you." As much as she wanted to retort, her mind stumbled over the implications. She inhaled sharply, pulling together a semblance of strength. "I will not hide," she said, lifting her chin defiantly. Another surge from the shadows caused her to falter. She grunted, forced to fight against the freezing tendrils, while Hartman's chaos loomed above her, a stark contrast to the warmth she currently craved. "Ah, that stubbornness, it's delicious," he taunted, his voice layered with a sick, twisted joy. "Let us see how long you can resist." "I won't let you go, Clara. Not until you remember." At that moment, an eruption of light bloomed from her pocket, the phone screen illuminating the space around them. It glared against the shadows, drawing their attention momentarily. Hartman's eyes flashed, and he recoiled, revealing the vulnerability veiled beneath his bravado. Clara seized the moment. Mustering every ounce of willpower, she kicked violently, feeling the restraints loosen ever so slightly. Each heartbeat crescendoed her resolve. "No. You won't take me," she snarled, pouring out the fear, anger, and defiance in one swift motion. She yanked her foot, strong against the shadow binding her, and stunned silence followed as she broke free. But the moment was fleeting. The basement walls quaked, and the darkness roared, responding to her defiance. A rumble echoed, the shadows swirling violently as if startled by her rebellion. Hartman's eyes widened, the veneer of confidence cracking. "What have you done?" He reached for her, desperation mingling with fury. Before she could react, a floorboard splintered fragments scattering like teeth as the darkness lashed out, a tempest of shadows surrounding them both. Clara's instincts kicked in, she dove forward, racing past him, knowing she had to escape this living nightmare. "Incredible! You're waking up!" Hartman called after her, laughter tinged with madness. "But don't think you've won. The game has merely taken a turn." She hurtled toward the faint light now beckoning her through the depths, her brother's voice chanting her name like a lifeline, "Clara." Just as she plunged into the brightness, an arm shot out from the darkness, grabbing her wrist, a bone-chilling grip of betrayal. In that moment, she realized the stakes had shifted again. The shadows weren't the only thing fighting for her. What was waiting in the depths she had yet to uncover? Only one way to find out. Clara's breath hitched in her throat as the grip tightened, almost painfully. Panic spiraled within her like a tornado, her heart racing against the steady, ominous pull of the darkness. "Let go!" she shouted, but her voice faded into the swirling abyss that surrounded her. The shadowy tendril was alive, and it wasn't he just holding her, it was feeding off her fear. Hartman materialized beside her, his smile replaced with a chilling sneer. "Did you think you could escape so easily? You underestimate the power of this place." His voice dripped with derision, echoing off the walls that seemed to close in. The light she had seen was fading, becoming a mere flicker as the shadows surged, drowning her in despair once more. Clara's mind raced. She couldn't allow herself to be captured again, but what choice did she have against this insatiable force? With a deep breath, she reached into her pocket, her fingers grazing the phone once more. "My brother is coming for me," she yelled defiantly, but uncertainty tugged at her mind. Would he even find her? Family ties. So sweet, so fragile, Hartman mocked, taking a step closer. "But they won't save you here. This darkness, it knows what you are, Clara." A surge of rage sparked within her. How dare he try to manipulate her feelings? "I am not afraid of you," she declared, her voice vibrant with anger. The shadows recoiled slightly, a momentary retreat that gave Clara a sliver of hope. She twisted her wrist, trying to shake off the clawing tendril. Hartman watched with a mix of amusement and annoyance, as if the struggle were a game to him. "Fighting is futile. You can't escape the past," he taunted, his words slicing through her. The past. The memories flashed her brother's laughter, their childhood home, all the love and abandonment tangled together like roots of an ancient tree. "Stop it!" she screamed, the shadows pulsing heavier, pulling at her insides. "Leave me alone." There was a flicker in his eyes, a flicker of something deeper. Perhaps even remorse? "You think you're strong enough to break free?" he hissed, inching closer, shadows responding to his will. "What if I told you it's already too late?" Clara's heart plummeted. "What do you mean?" she gasped, throat tightening. Hartman stepped back suddenly, the tension shifting. "The darkness never forgets, Clara. It clings to all who fear it. You are bound to it now, forever." As if to punctuate his words, the shadows spun wildly, tightening around her one more time. Clara felt the cold bite of despair creeping up her spine. No. She wouldn't succumb. Not now. Not ever. The memories of her brother surged within her, igniting a flicker of warmth amidst the icy grip of Hartman's darkness. Pushing against the shadows with all her might, Clara called out once more, "I choose to fight. I choose the light." Suddenly, a deafening roar erupted, shaking the very foundations of the basement as the shadows twisted violently. The ground beneath her threatened to open, and Clara knew time was running out. In that moment, she glimpsed beyond the chaos, into a depths where a faint light glimmered, beckoning her. It was her brother's voice again, louder now, breaking through the shroud, pulling her toward a new possibility. "Clara. I'm coming." With one final surge of strength, she propelled herself toward the light, feeling the shadows clawing, desperate to hold her back. Hartman's voice exploded in frustration behind her, "You can't escape the truth." But Clara leaped forward, embracing the warmth of the light, heart racing not just for escape, but for revenge against the darkness she had been shackled to for too long. As she broke through to the other side, she stumbled, a shockwave of energy coursing through her. But she wasn't alone in this new space. A figure stood before her, familiar yet foreign, cloaked in mystery and warmth. "Clara," the voice resonated, sending chills down her spine. "You have to trust me." Who was this figure? What connection did they hold? Desperation intertwined with curiosity as Clara took a step forward, ready for whatever awaited her. And just as she was about to ask who they were, she felt the shadows surge behind her once more. The battle was far from over. Clara's heart raced as the figure before her became clearer. The light illuminated familiar eyes, her brother, Jake. "Clara, I came for you," he rushed, the relief palpable etched across his face. "I thought I lost you." "Jake." Tears blurred her vision, a mix of joy and fear flooding her chest. "You found me." But the shadows roared behind her, their hunger clawing at the edges of her consciousness. She turned to face them, feeling the heat of their rage rising like a storm. "We need to get out of here." Panic pricked her skin. "No, Clara," Jake said. "You need to confront Hartman. It's the only way to break the cycle." His voice was steady, determined, even as shadows twisted around him, threatening to drag him into the void. Before she could respond, Hartman appeared, imposing and ruthless, a fierce smile chasing the shadows behind him. "Isn't this a touching reunion?" "Stay back!" Clara shouted, stepping in front of Jake, her heart hammering but resolve hardening like steel. "You don't control us anymore." Hartman chuckled, low and ominous. "Oh, but I do. You don't even understand what you're up against. Your brother isn't your savior, he's just as trapped as you are." "No!" Clara screamed, memories flickering. Could he be right? Betrayal wormed its way into her mind. Jake stepped forward, pushing the doubt aside. "Clara, he wants you to feel weak. Don't listen to him." As Jonas' voice resonated, Clara felt a spark ignite within her. Memories surged, a childhood filled with laughter, the warmth of family, moments that proved light could pierce even the deepest darkness. She envisioned the life she fought for, the pieces of herself that remained hidden but were still alive. "Nothing you say can make me doubt my strength." Clara shouted back at Hartman, the shadows curling but retreating slightly. "Then let us put that to the test," Hartman sneered, snapping his fingers. The shadows surged forward, creating a vortex intended to swallow everything whole. "Clara, hold on to me," Jake yelled, reaching out. She grasped his hand, the connection solid and warm, a lifeline pulling her from the brink. As darkness enveloped them, Clara's mind raced. "I'm not afraid of you," she screamed, channeling all the fear, grief, and even anger she had felt into a powerful surge. "You don't own me." The shadows recoiled, their gnashing forms faltering under the weight of her defiance. Hartman's confident smirk faded as he staggered backward, pushed by the unfurling light from Clara's heart. "That's it, Clara," Jake urged, his voice a beacon. "Remember who you are." Suddenly, Clara felt it, the wellspring of power surging from deep within, radiating outward until it washed over her in blinding light. She stepped forward, drawing the energy into her hands. "I'm done playing your games," she declared. "This ends now." With one sweeping motion, she thrust her hands forward, the light bursting forth like an explosion, fragmenting the darkness. Screams erupted from the shadows around her as the light claimed its space, illuminating every corner that Hartman thought he had pinned down. Clara stood firm, heart racing but unyielding. The darkness began to dissipate. Hartman, shocked, furious, staggered back as his influence weakened, the shadows fleeing as Clara harnessed that moment. "I see you for what you are, a coward hidden in the shadows." As the brilliance of her defiance crystallized, Clara felt the chains of fear shatter, breaking the power Hartman held over her and her family. The remnants of the darkness wailed, retreating into nothingness. Jake reached out, his expression filled with pride. "You did it." Clara turned to her brother, relief washing over her like a summer rain. "We did it." As the last traces of darkness faded into memory, a profound quiet enveloped the space, lighter now, the air free of dense terror. They embraced tightly, a bond reborn in the radiant aftermath of shared strength. "Where do we go from here?" Jake asked, his voice soft. Clara smiled, fire rekindled in her heart. "We rebuild, we reclaim our stories. Together." As they walked toward the light, leaving the darkness behind, Clara felt a weight lift off her shoulders. The sun shone outside, a new dawn glimmering ahead, bright and full of promise. The past may have haunted her, but the future was theirs to shape. With a fresh breath of hope, every step was a testament of resilience, every second a whisper of strength, a lesson that one can always rise anew. And then, just like that, she opened her eyes to find herself back in her room, sunlight streaming through the window, phone buzzing with notifications. Her heart raced with disbelief. Was it all a dream? She opened her social media. Messages poured in, friends excited to hear from her. Clara stifled a laugh, not knowing how to express everything she had faced, but deep down, she knew, she was not just the girl frozen in fear anymore. She was a warrior of light. "Hey!" Her phone blared. It was Jake calling. She answered, excitement bubbling. "You won't believe what just happened." But there was one thing she needed to do first. "Hold up," she said, her eyes lighting up as she looked into the camera. "You guys need to do something for me. Subscribe immediately to my channel so you don't miss these exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to help feed the algorithm. Flood my DMs and comments with your theories about my crazy adventure. And seriously, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this. Don't wait even one more second. This is the moment to show your support." With that, Clara grinned, knowing her journey was just beginning.